This is a very quick tutorial on how to use VLOOKUP to reconcile data from your student information system with data that is already in CALPADS. So one of the things that you need to have done prior to doing this process is you need to have all of your data in a single workbook. So we see at the bottom here, this is a list of EL statuses from our student information system. And then on this other tab we have records that we've gotten from an SELA ODS extract from CALPADS. So that's a file that you can request from CALPADS. And we already imported it, so we have each of our fields in a different column, and we have headers at the top. So what we're going to do is we're going to start on the tab where we want to add information. So in this case we have our EL status from our student information system, and what we want to do is we want to be able to see that alongside the EL status that's reported in CALPADS. So we're going to go ahead and give this column a title. And then we'll resize the column. And what we're going to do is we're going to write a formula so that it takes this SSID and it looks up that student on our other tab and returns the corresponding EL status that's in that ODS extract. So we're going to go ahead and type an equal sign to start our formula, and then type VLOOKUP, which is the formula that we'll be using. And we need to type an open parenthesis, and it asks for 4 different parameters. The first parameter is the key, so it's whatever you're looking up the information by. So if this were a dictionary, it would be the word that we're going to look up. In this case, we're matching up the records by SSID. So we want to click on that cell, and we'll notice it writes the address of that cell in the formula, A2. And then we want to type a comma, and then we need to select the table array, which is actually the place that we're looking up the data from. So we want to click on our other tab, and for this table you have to select the left-hand column has to contain your key. So our key is our SSID, so we have to start with G as our left-hand column, and then we need to scroll over to the right so that we can see our other columns, and we need to select all the columns that include at least what we're looking up. So we see that our English language acquisition status is in column M. So what we want to do is, after selecting column G, if you hold the Shift key on your keyboard and then you click on column M, it'll select all of the columns in between. And we notice that our formula is updated, that it's pulling from our SELA ODS tab, and it's pulling columns G through M. So next, our formula bar is still active, so we can just type another comma, and then we see it ask for a column index num. And what that's asking for is what column you want to return from the table you selected. So we need to count from the left-hand column. So SSID is the first column. Then we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So English language acquisition status is our 7th column, so we need to type 7. And then another comma. And although this is technically an optional parameter, we always want to use this parameter when we're matching up CALPADS data, because this tells whether we're going to get approximate matches or exact matches. And for our work, we're always going to want exact matches. So we can double click on that, or you can type the word false all in capitals, and then you add your closing parenthesis to end your formula. And then at the end, you always have to press enter. And that'll bring us back to the original spreadsheet. And we see it didn't really do anything but put the formula in there. So one of the things that you need to do is make sure that the number format is set correctly. So in our home tab at the top in our ribbon, we can click on this type and set it to general, which is the proper format for a formula, and then if you click in the formula bar and hit enter, it will actually apply that formula. And then all we need to do is click on that cell, and if you put your cursor in the bottom right hand corner of the cell, it'll turn into a black arrow, and you can actually drag that formula down, and you can see it actually copies the formula into each of these different cells. And now we can see that we have a student reported as EL in our student system, but in CALPADS it shows up as English only. So that is pretty much it for how to write a VLOOKUP formula to use to match your SIS data with CALPADS data. One additional tip I want to make sure that you're aware of is on your lookup tab, you need to make sure that the leftmost column is always your lookup, and not only that, all your data has to be to the right of that column. So if for some reason the thing that you're trying to look up is on the left-hand column, you may have to rearrange your columns by doing cuts and pastes to get all your data that you're looking up on the right-hand side. And if you want to make it simpler, you can also delete columns in between if you don't need them. So that's it for our tutorial today, and hopefully you find it useful.